Hello everybody, and welcome back to my Unstable playthrough. Just want to go over a couple of things before I got started on my actual playthrough today. First of all, I have upgraded to 3.0.9, which seems to be a lot more stable than 0.8. I can actually play in it. That means I also have all the new mods from 3.8 or from 0.8 and 0.9. And I'll be going over those in just a moment. But first, I want to cover a few things that I noticed. First and foremost, about the Smeltery. I have found out that in the 3.09 update, you can break the tank, and it keeps the lava. So we can now take the tank back over there to the pool and fill it up. The other thing I found out is I figured out why I could not drain anything out of here. If you remember, I had about 10 ingots worth of iron in here, and I have managed to get the 2 blocks of it out. It's actually a very simple fix, basically a limitation I did not know. And that's basically if you, in the previous ones, the drainery could be in any part of the smeltery, including in the very top and even in partial rings of the smeltery. So right now, this would be a valid smeltery setup for the old version of Tinker's Construct. Now that's no longer the case, as obvious to the fact we can't pour anything out. But if we finish the ring off, now we can start pulling things out. So the new limitation is the smeltery drains can be any level that's complete. Now, that being said, I'm going to show you how to make a couple of casts. And these are what we will be using to form the our tools and stuff. And it was real simple. You just put the item in the middle there, and then you pour gold on top of it. Then whenever I pour another metal in, say for example iron. Oh, by the way, completing the next ring of the smelter also increase the capacity and the number of ores that we can put in. I don't think increasing the number of ores actually makes it more fuel efficient. You'll still go through about the same amount of lava per ore, but in terms of time, this is a lifesaver. And like I said, I like to make it 3x3s because that way I can easily just pull bricks out. So, but yeah, you put the metal you want on the bottom, and just pour it out, and voila. You will see the color changing now, which is kind of cool. But it takes longer with some metals than with others, it seems. Gold solidified almost immediately from what it looked like. Iron actually took a couple seconds inside the basin. The other thing I noticed is there has been a change with some of the interfaces with Tinker's Construct. The crafting station only interacted with the chest it was next to before. But it now interacts with the other stations that it's next to it. So just by looking at one utility, I can access all of these items and any equivalent chests that are nearby. So I think I'm going to have to rearrange my crafting area, or maybe do that once I actually build a house out there. We'll have to see on that. And like I said, there has been some new updates. Sorry about that. It looks like I just got an update warning. One of the most noticeable ones we have now is we now have Botania installed. So you can now find mystical flowers. They will generate in your normal world spawning. Unfortunately, because I had a world that was created before Botania was installed, I actually had to go way over here And I think the first flowers I found, or the nearest flowers I found, were over here and down here. So the other major change that came up is Biomes of Plenty is now installed. And unlike previously where you had to choose to make a world of Biomes of Plenty, that it is now included as the default world types. Give me a moment for the zombie to finish dying off here. Oh, just die already. Okay, so like I said, the Biomes of Plenty are now included in the default world types. And since this was the default world type, that means that down here, we now have the Sunflower Plains, which is a Biomes of Plenty. Unfortunately, that seems to be the only one I found thus far. But on the good side, normally when you have something like this, you have like massive cliffs where the world generation doesn't sync up. I have not experienced any problems with that so far. So the world, the chunk generation seems to have improved a great deal. The other thing that has been a major change, and this came with, correction, there was two other major changes. But we have Biomes of Plenty and Botania from 3.08, and we also had the Furnace mod installed. These are really great. They're basically like your normal furnace, like the one I have over here, except for the fact it can be upgraded with like speed increases, efficiency increases, so on and so forth, including bonus outputs. That's kind of cool. The other one that I really like is the Echo upgrade. I really hate putting in 1 iron ingot and a piece of coal or something and having that extra 7 ingots worth of coal go away. With this Echo upgrade, that extra 7 units of fuel will stay there. So that's going to be something we get working in on shortly. The other thing it adds, which is also really nice, is the pulvis. This is fairly new from what I can tell. It's not even in the, it's only barely in the information that's out there for Furnace. Not that there's a whole lot out there. But the pulvis, as it kind of sounds right, acts kind of like a pulverizer. Or your sag mills, or your macerator, whatever you want to call it. Basically, you can use it to grind ores down into 2 dust. Then each dust becomes an iron ingot. I am actually kind of curious to see whether or not we can use the pulvis and bonus upgrades for a chance of getting more dust, and then going to a furnace with a bonus upgrade and getting more dust. That would be pretty damn interesting to see. Now, I will point out one thing here. You'll notice that a lot of these say increased fuel consumption. This one, I think, is the only one that decreases it. There's only so many upgrades you can put in. I think this one can have a maximum of 8 installed. And if you have 8, that will cut down the total efficiency by 50%. But if you combine it with the efficiency and the bonus upgrade, you're still going to be looking at using 6 times as much fuel as you normally would. Unfortunately, since this doesn't have any ways of doing RF or solar, that means you will be going through quite a bit of coal. And all the numbers that I made sure to tell everybody about last episode don't mean jack squat anymore. But there is some benefits to using this. Ideally, what I was planning on doing is I just putting the ores in here and having it double. But if I can get the pulvis and the bonuses from that, as well as the bonuses from the furnace, that could be a pretty massive bonus over Smeltery. And then I'll just put individual bars in there to make tool parts as needed. We'll have to see. Now, I think that's all for 3.08. 3.09, on the other hand, came out with something new. Basically, the Ender tanks and Ender buckets. They're all part of the same mod. But you'll remember that I said we didn't have many mods to bring lava over there to over here. With this, we can set up tanks, and any liquid we put in one tank will go into the liquid of all the other tanks of the matching colors. Let's see here. There we go. It's not a complicated recipe, and if you're familiar with the not the vanilla but the other Ender chest mod, it works the same way. The recipes just look different. Basically, you use one piece of coal or wool at the top, and that will determine the color for the 3 rings. But you can then use dyes to change the tanks to go to different channels, basically. Now all it shows here is in any eye is all the same channel, but you can mix it up. So you have, I want to say 16 different colors cubed, and that's how many different combinations you have. Could be very friendly for a server. The only downside to that is we do need to get blaze rods, which I don't believe there's any way of making. Yeah, Botania and Thaumcraft do not have any way of making blaze rods, unfortunately. Yeah, making blaze rods into other things, but yeah. The other thing this mod includes is the Ender buckets. Much the same way, they stay one color at the get-go. But with these, if you right-click them on an Ender tank, it will copy the code of whatever that tank is. And then whenever you right-click with this to pick up a fluid, that fluid will leave the bucket and go straight to the tank. So it's a lot easier than having to carry around another Ender tank. And these can be used with blaze powders. So as soon as we can get access to the blaze rods, I think that's what we're going to do. But I think once we get the episode started here, or maybe sometime in between, I'm going to just take the Smeltery tank over there for now, since we can now do that. Woohoo! I'm going to keep streaming here, but for purposes of recording, I'm going to cut this off here, and we're going to make basically a separate episode for this, just as an update for the YouTube folks.